What's going on, guys? My name is Nabil Hussain. I'm one of the service advisors here at an Acura dealership. I've been here about a year now, officially, because in December is when I first started, December 1st of last year. So I kind of want to just, do it like a little yearly review type thing. But first I wanted to introduce myself. Like I said, my name is Nabil. I first got into automotive, I would say, in 2021. April 12th of 2021 is when I joined the Honda Pack program over at Robert Morgan. Before then, the only thing I knew about cars was had an idea how to change a tire. I used to play with a lot of toy cars growing up, but I didn't really have any like fixing cars type experience. I didn't really know much about that stuff. As a kid, I would there was like a toy car, the type that you could sit in and drive in and stuff like that. I would sit in it and I would put it on like a stool, and I would pretend like as if it's up in the air type thing, like it's on a jack, or like, you know what I'm saying, like it's raised up in the air. And I would essentially just use my plastic tools and my wrenches and just go underneath the car and lay down and pretend I was working on it. But other than that, I didn't really have much automotive experience before joining that program. And by joining that program, I graduated June of 23. So yeah, I was in the PAC program for about 2 years. I learned pretty much everything, every topic we went over: the seatbelt system, electrical system, AC system, engines, transmissions, manual and automatic, brakes. We went over a lot of different topics, pretty much everything. We had to do the Honda modules, which was specific to Honda vehicles and Acura vehicles as well. We did also general automotive knowledge. And so basically, like, the way it works is you had to have 2 ACs, you had to have a certain amount of hours at a dealership, you had to finish all your modules, skill modules and self-studies. And it was a lot of self-study. It was a lot of content. The first 2 months, it was so stressful because a few months prior, I graduated from the air conditioning program, and it was only like half the work. It was a lot easier in terms of coursework, but the Honda program was a lot more intensive in terms of the content. It was a lot more, so it was a lot more stressful. I was genuinely thinking of dropping out because of how much content it was, how stressful it was. But somehow, some way I got through it, alhamdulillah. 2 months into the program, I would say I had an opportunity to get hired at a dealership, but I didn't take it because I didn't want to drive all the way to like Bremen, Honda. I didn't want to drive all the way there. I wanted something closer, like either the Honda dealerships or the Acura dealership that I'm close by. And I went to interview at both of them, but they weren't hiring at the time. Even though they ended up hiring other people, I guess, that were in the program longer, because that's what they base it off of. So I didn't end up getting hired at the Honda dealer near my house until I would say in March of 2022, March 2nd, I believe, or March 3rd, something like that, is when I got hired. And it's been good. So it was good for I was there for like 4 months as a lube technician, doing the basics: oil changes, tire rotations, battery replacements, air filters, the super basics, tire repairs, tire replacements, nothing crazy. I would say late June, I'd gotten a really bad back injury that lasted for a while. I was out of work for a few weeks because I wasn't able to move. And this Honda dealership was very, very big. It's like 3 or 4 times the size of the Acura dealership I'm working at now. So there was a lot of walking involved. That's the way this particular dealership handled their business. There was a lot of walking involved. So, and I couldn't really walk that well, so I was walking at like maybe a mile an hour, or 2 miles an hour. I was walking very slowly. It wasn't easy on me physically, so I couldn't really make it. I tried for a couple days, but it wasn't working out. It was getting worse, and eventually I was out of work for so long. I went to a lot of different places. I had too much to mention, but a chiropractor that I mentioned, they wrote me a note, and they said that he couldn't return to work for about a week or two. But eventually I actually got terminated between that time, which is something I didn't realize later on was something that was actually wrong. They can't do that to you if you have or I could have taken legal action or something, but I didn't know about that stuff at the time. It was all new. This job as a lube tech was my first job, actually, which is kind of sad. Cause at 22, I haven't had my first job, but I guess, everyone's on their own path in life, and so I was having that I was getting terminated. I got the pain late June, and I went to work still for about maybe 3 weeks or so, and they ended up terminating me late July. The pain did not end up going away completely until early December, so I was with it for a very long time. So I was back at school. Thursdays is usually you would work at the way the Honda dealership worked is that 3 days you would work, 2 days you would go. The way this Honda dealership worked is that you would work 6 days. They were working you hard. From 4 to 7 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 to 7 Thursday and Friday, and 7 to 4 Saturday. So it was a lot of working. It was a lot of work. So Thursdays, typically those who had a job wouldn't come to work. They would go straight to, come to school. They would go straight to work. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no school, just straight work. But it was difficult in the sense that you had less time to do your coursework. You really had to put effort in to do it at home. That was very, very, very important, the self-studies. Or else you will get backed up, because at school, you're doing skill modules for the most part. So you don't really have the time to do the self-studies. So it is what it is. But once I got terminated and I was back at school Thursdays and stuff like that, I was kind of the senior at this point, or one of the senior guys, because I was one of, I was not the senior guys, because there were still guys that were there from before that hadn't graduated as yet, but they were on their way out in December. So from January on, I would say I was probably maybe the oldest student there that had been there the longest, because the guys before me had all graduated or left. I don't know. So I was kind of like the guiding force, in a sense that I was like, something that I would volunteer to do to help the teachers would be to teach the students how to do express service, which I thought was pretty cool. Teaching was something that I really wanted to do for that period of time, because teaching someone how to do something was like really fulfilling. Like, now I kind of understand now why teachers like what they do, because it's a nice fulfilling field, especially that moment when they say, "Oh, I get it, I understand what you're saying," because then because remember, the level of comprehension, the level of knowledge you have of something determines how well you're able to explain it. That's very important. And express service, I had it down packed. I was able to, I showed them all my little tricks that I learned at the dealership. Not really tricks to get around the rules, that type of thing, no. I meant like, little tips, like, not tricks, but tips on, you had a little flashlight. I even wrote up a PDF list of basic tools you should have when starting out, and I sent it to whoever needed it at the time. It was super basic stuff. Most of it was hand tools. The most expensive stuff on that list was probably the Milwaukee half-inch impact, the DeWalt drill for the screws and stuff. That was what that was for. But it was pretty good for a long time. I was kind of like the guiding force. I would work on cars once in a while, but most of the time it was the other guys. I was kind of helping out or doing stuff with them. But I was still working on cars, doing what I need to do to graduate, of course. So my first advisor experience was probably when one day my teacher gives me a car and said, "Nabil, do a multi-point inspection on this car." So I'm not gonna lie, at first I was a bit upset, because I was like, but why not give it to literally anybody else who needs the experience of how to do express service? But he gave it to me specifically. He didn't mention, "Oh, well, have the other guys train me." He didn't mention anything. Have the other guys be under me, like me teaching them or whatever. He didn't mention any of that. He just said, "Nabil, do this inspection." So, okay. So I put the car up in the air. Well, I tested the battery. I looked at the air filters. I checked all of that stuff. I put it up in the air, see if it had any leaks. I think it was a 17 Accord. It was a 4-door. It had some really nice rims. It was a blue car. It was a nice blue too, I'm not gonna lie. The car was a nice looking car. So what I determined that I needed was that I needed a battery. It needed both cabin air filter, engine air filter, and I needed an oil change if I'm not mistaken. And I think that was it at the time. Towards the end of the day, two girls come in the shop. One of them was my other teacher's daughter, and the other girl was her friend. I think they were in the medical program. So my teacher says, go and talk to the customer, go and talk to her about what she needs to, about her car. So this is my first time really being in that situation, and I was a nervous wreck because before I joined this job, I was a very quiet person. I am still a quiet person. But I've kind of opened up and kind of came out of that shell that I so desperately needed to come out of with this job, which is one of the things I really like about this job, is that it forced me out of my comfort zone. And so I was a nervous wreck. I'm pretty sure she barely understood what I was saying, but I think she understood enough that her car needed a battery, her car needed filters and stuff like that, and I think an oil change if I'm not mistaken, and a rotation. Just so she would know what to get. And I guess she understood that part. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. And I told her, my other teacher, which is her friend's father, recommended that we get the vehicle battery from Walmart. She needed also another key, if I'm not mistaken. So the parts department gave her an old key, and then my teacher that told me to do the inspection, he had to do this like really fast programming that only needed one key. It was weird. Like, it was a weird process, but somehow after multiple attempts, he ended up getting it. But it was a nice experience. I mean, I was a nervous wreck. That was my first time really talking to a customer, that to a female who I'm not really good at talking to be honest with you. It was a very nerve-wracking experience. I would say that was my first advisor experience. Fast forward to March of 23 is when I got hired as a lube technician at the Acura dealership near my house. But I coincidentally got hired. My other classmate had gotten hired there the first time I went to interview because he had been in the program longer. The second time I went to interview, it was me and another guy that came in after me. So that's how I based it off of whoever's been in the program longer is the one who got hired. Because that's what happened, I think, both times, if I'm not mistaken. But actually, no, the first time at Honda when I first interviewed in June, that I think it was because they were waiting on someone to graduate, and he didn't graduate for a while. And it was until he graduated when they were able to hire more people. And I made a lot of good friendships. I wanted to mention that I met a lot of really nice guys over there. One of my former coworkers, he actually passed away back in March. He was a really nice Jamaican guy. I used to be with him a lot. He taught me a lot of little things. He let me do some things like take apart door panels and stuff like that. So it was really nice getting to know him. I don't want to mention the other guys because of their names by privacy reasons. Because I don't know if they'd have an issue with that. But anyways, going back to when I interviewed at Acura, it was a different process in terms of drug testing. They had to cut part of your hair off and test that, because supposedly if you are taking drugs, it would last longer in your hair than in your urine. Which I never knew that before, because before you would usually just do a urine test and call it a day, which I did at Honda, but at Acura was a little bit more with the hair test. So they had to snip part of your hair off, test that, and go from there. So it worked out, and I got hired at Acura as a lube technician. It's a much smaller. At Acura, it was a much smaller shop. This particular Acura dealership, it was a much smaller place. Like I said, a third of the size of the Honda place I was at, and I was there I had 2 boxes that I bought. Actually, no, a box that I had from before, and I brought it to Acura from Honda to the house to Acura. It was a nice U.S. General three drawer box. It's a very popular box. If you look it up, I'll probably include a picture in the video. It's a very popular box. A lot of people know it. A lot of the guys in my class started with that box. It's a very popular starter box. and then from there you just upgrade to whatever you want. But for me, it was a very good starter box, and then I upgraded to a 52 inch, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, sorry, a 56 inch drawer toolbox. 56 inch or no, sorry, 52 inch husky box with a hatch on the top. Oh, it was a really nice box. I bought it. I was able to upgrade to it in September. The older guy in the shop, I don't want to mention his name again for privacy reasons, but he helped me. He went to Home Depot with me to pick it up. Obviously, I paid him. I gave him a little something for it because I don't like people doing things for free for me. I just don't feel comfortable with it because I know that. I mean, not everybody wants pay. Not everybody takes payment, but most people do, which means that they might have actually thought about it from before. And I don't like people doing things for free for me. So as a lube tech, again, it was the bare basics. Lube technicians are actually probably one of the most abused, if not the most abused, in my opinion, because they have to do a bunch of stuff. They have to help the flat rate guys. They have to help the used car guys with their cars, and they don't get credit for this. The used car guys get their money I had to sometimes be a porter. I had to sometimes take customers home and stuff like that. For whatever reason it may be, I used to try to make myself useful as possible because some days would be really slow. So I would take like the mop or the broom and just sweep the service drive because that was something that my teachers always recommended. Try to make yourself as useful as possible. Try to make yourself as valuable as possible. So like if worst push comes to shove, it's between you and another employee, you might get the upper hand because you've made yourself more useful in their eyes. That you're more valuable and you're more important to keep as an employee. So I try to do that, and then in early September, I would say is when I got my new box, the Husky box. And then coincidentally, I think maybe about a week or two after is when they had fired the advisor that was there before me. And my boss was saying, Nabil, man, do you know anybody that would want to be a service advisor? So months prior, my dad had suggested that, Nabil, why don't you consider being a service advisor? At the time, I didn't want anything to do with it because I knew that it was a stressful job and stuff like that, and I didn't want to deal with people and stuff like that. But this time, after being in pain for so many months, physically, being a mechanic takes a toll on your body. It really does. Anyone who's been a mechanic for who knows how long, they know that their bodies, it takes a toll on your body over time. And even though I hadn't been doing it near as long as mechanics, but the thing is, I'm also like physically not that strong and stuff like that, and going to the gym is difficult for me. Obviously now I'll probably have to make some improvements, probably go to the gym, but I'm not the strongest person, and physically being a mechanic was difficult for me. I would come home very exhausted, stinking of oil and grease after, because lube guys, that's all they do really. Oil changes, tire rotations. So rubber, grease, oil, brake cleaner, all those funny little chemicals come together and form a very strong smell. It smells pretty bad. It smells terrible, but it's not a nice smelling type of smell, you know what I'm saying? So I suggested to him, say, what about me? I don't remember the exact words. I was stuttering when I said it, but I believe I said, well, what about me? And he said, well, yeah, that's actually a good idea because you've had automotive training and stuff like that. So maybe, we're gonna try you out. So they put me into training with my coworker, who's actually like, I guess you can say my work best friend. I'm not gonna mention his name again. Maybe just as G. So G was really good. G has been really good because obviously I'm still here at the same Acura dealership. I'm still here. G has been very good. G and me are very close. I go to him all the time for advice. He comes to me sometimes for help, and sometimes he asks me questions on stuff that he doesn't know that I've somehow become more familiar with. So we help each other a lot, the two of us. And the other people, I'm not really close with them that much, but I do have respect for them. I don't try to disrespect anybody. It's very important to maintain a good relationship with your coworkers, especially as a service advisor. You're dealing with your fellow advisors, you're dealing with the loaner agent, the service receptionist, your service manager who's they're all typically around the same area, the service drive. Obviously, so something that I wanted to mention is that it's very important to maintain a good relationship with your coworkers, not just in the service drive, but in the shop. Understand what your mechanic's strengths and weaknesses are. Try to develop a relationship with them. Understanding of what they're strong in and what they're weak in. Like, for example, there are certain mechanics that are strong in mechanical stuff. There are mechanics that are strong in electrical issues. There are mechanics that are strong in, electronic features in the car, like CarPlay, Android Auto, navigation. There are mechanics that are strong in that stuff. There are mechanics that could take apart engines and transmissions and put it back together in a day or half a day. There are mechanics that don't work that fast. There are mechanics that work fast. There's all kinds of different things that that mechanics are. No one's strong in every single field. There are mechanics that are strong in different fields, and you have to try to understand that, so because sometimes the shop foreman isn't always around. He's not around 24/7. He's there from this time to this time. Typically, he doesn't stay all the time. It depends on the shop you have, but the shop I have, the shop foreman leaves before closing time, a couple hours before, like 2 hours before. Maybe you'll have a bigger shop. Maybe there's more than one foreman. You have to understand your foremans as well. There are some shop foremans that work. There are some shop foremans that only be a foreman, and they're a non-working foreman. There's different kinds of shop foremans. And you have to understand that. But like I said, you have to understand your mechanic's strengths and weaknesses, develop a good relationship with them, be cautious to them, like, don't give them short timelines to do big jobs, because that's ridiculous and unfair. Like, let's say you get a timing belt service. Don't tell them, hey, look, I need it in 3 hours. Timing belt services don't take that long. Don't take that short a period of time. Like, timing belt services is the timing belt tensioner, the water pump, coolant, drive belt. It's more than one item. Even though they're all in the same area, it still takes a lot of time to get that done. It's not a 1, 2, 3 process. There's stuff that you have to take apart to get to that area. So it takes a few hours. You can't, so you have to develop an understanding of how long jobs typically take. If you don't know how long it takes, maybe ask your advisors, maybe ask the technicians. And don't make up fake waiting times before try not to operate on incomplete information or misinformation. Try to get as much information as possible about how long a job takes, before you just say, hey, it's going to be done in an hour. It's not going to be done in an hour. It's going to take 2-3 hours. You don't know, and you have to counter in your other advisors and the cars that they have in the shop, the cars that they need to get in the shop. You don't know. You don't know how long it'll take. You have to counter in all of that information. You have to develop an understanding of prices of stuff, of the labor rates, this and that. Develop an understanding of extended warranties. Extended warranties don't cover everything. There are things they cover and things they don't. So you have to have the customer agree to diagnosis time, so that if it's not covered, the technician still gets paid for their time, which is the only fair way to do it. Because the factory warranty covers a lot of stuff, if not everything, almost everything. They don't cover everything either. There are things they cover and things they don't. But most stuff they cover, like cosmetic items and stuff like that, which extended warranty doesn't cover. At least for Honda and Acura. I can't speak for other brands. But Acura is what I'm familiar with, and that's, like, for example, like premature leather wear of the dashboard or the seats, stuff like that they might cover, or the sun visor. Sometimes the sun visor doesn't stay up or gets stuck or something. Stuff like that would be covered under factory warranty, but not extended warranty. Extended warranty would not cover that stuff. So you have to try to develop an understanding of what extended warranty covers, what factory warranty covers, and stuff like that. And Accurate Care warranty is actually pretty close to factory warranty, but it doesn't cover cosmetic items, which is something you have to remember. And yeah, that is, you have to really develop an understanding of all that stuff, which is going to take time. you have to take lots and lots of notes. I have several pieces of paper on my desk, and because I have a little shelving that I'll show you a little later that has different categories. Well, the one that's my favorite is advisor job aids, which is a bunch of random pieces of paper that I found from the online university that Acura has. I print it out and I keep it as a reference so I can go back to it, or different little things that I found, that little piece of information that I found that are helpful to me in my job, that makes my job a little easier. Is stuff that, and again, taking lots of notes is very important. You're not going to remember every single thing as the person training you is telling you. Try to take lots of notes, videos, however you learn best. Do that. Take notes, take videos, take pictures. I do all of that to try to help me remember stuff. And you have to give yourself time. I've been here, like I said, about a year now, and there's still lots and lots and lots of things I still don't know. You're learning every single day. Like with the ZDXs that are coming out, the electric cars, for Acuras. It's a big question mark for the most part, to be honest with you, because there's still a lot of information on random issues that can happen with it. We don't know. There's some information online, but there's information that we just don't know. There's still a lot of stuff that we have to try to figure out to the best of our ability. Obviously it's not for me, it's more so for the technician. But when something new comes out, there's not going to be a lot of information on it until a while after, because then that's when more places, more Acura dealerships see those cars, and they deal with different issues that it may or may not have, and then more information is put together about this particular product. So that's something to keep in mind. So this is a little tour of my office. Trying my best not to show any customer information, but that's my two monitors, the Ultimate Advisor setup, my shelving that I was mentioning to you. I think this is my favorite part of my office. I bought that recently. A little gauge cluster over there. Don't mind the mess under the desk. Got a little guy in a map. When customers come and sit down in my office, they look at the map and say, "Oh, where you're from?" And it's like a conversation starter. So it's worked out for me quite a number of times. One of the times that I can count. So it's worked. And I tell them, my dad's from Bagastown, my mom's from Kitty. There's some one or two Guyanese customers that come in, and I talk to them about that stuff too. I have the information there about the 30K service. I have this tire gauge here, brakes. I have a little NSX there, my cricket ball for my first cricket game, a little water fountain, a cricket bat. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little setup, right there. Up there, a little nice little sword. Of course, the best year of all time, 2000. At the bottom there, you got recalls to be announced. That's like my list of customers that have recalls to be done. That's my list that we need to get scheduled. This is, like I said, my job aids. I'll go over that real quick later. Used cars, like checklists and stuff I need to fill out. I need to wait RO, like paperwork I'll deal with at a later time, or for something later, and part orders that are outstanding. Of course, I got that. That motorcycle's from my sister. That's from when I went to Omer, I think, in 2011, and that bought from a store. Someone bought from me, I don't remember. So this is the 30K service information, how to deactivate and activate idle stop, selling skills for accessories, battery warranties, a bunch of different stuff. Warning lights and what the symbols mean, because sometimes the description isn't the best. So I have a list of different pictures here that I printed out online. How to use the app at first, when it first came out, when we first started using it. There's a lot of different stuff here, a lot of different resources that I have here printed out, just as a reference for, for push comes to shove, and if I need help remembering something. So something that I wanted to mention is that it's very important to continue learning. I'll look for different resources. There's a link to a guy, I forgot his name, but I think it's Service Drive Revolution or something like that. I'll mention his name in the bio. It's a really good set of videos that he's put out on service advising and building a client base and stuff like that. It's very important to build your client base. Treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way they should be. That's something that's very important, because there's a lot of customers that don't, you're not going to mesh with every customer. There's going to be customers that just don't want to deal with you, that they just don't like the way, something about you that they don't like, and that's something that you have to remember. Unfortunately, there's going to be customers that you click with like right away, and there's customers that don't only want to deal with you. There are customers not going to want anything to do with you. That's just how it is, but you have to try your best to be respectful to every customer, treat them with kindness, respect. If they're a tough customer, then you have to talk to them in kind of a rougher voice, not more rougher, but more of a firm voice. You can't treat customers all the same way. You have to kind of mesh your personality to their personality, to kind of come in to meet in the middle a little bit. So part of an advisor's toolbox, at least this for me, I keep a little tire gauge here. I keep some extra valve caps because there are some customers that mention that they don't have valve caps or they need valve caps. I just take care of that real quick. I have some extra batteries. It's a little trick that one of the other advisors, that's no longer an advisor, he's a finance manager, he taught me this trick. Keep some extra batteries in your drawer, and depending on how, and don't obviously give away it to every single customer, but sometimes a little thing like a battery can build a relationship, build some type of connection with a customer, and that can help you down the road. A little tool like this, every key is going to be different, but usually a quarter, a little flathead is good enough for me to change a battery out. This one is my messiest drawer. This is something like a screen magnifier for my phone when I'm watching videos during lunch. Ketchup, sauce packets, perfume, toothpaste and a toothbrush, tape, extra notepads, a brush for my hair, utensils, playing cards, Carmix, more tape, interior detailer for the window. It's a little extra business cards. It's little stuff like this that can take you a long way. And kind of set you apart from the rest. Bottom drawers, more so for snacks. I used to keep a lot of water bottles in there, but they don't have bottles anymore. They have a water fountain. Here, recalls, bulletins, big jobs. I kind of used to keep a record of before, but now I kind of forgot. Surveys, accurate plans, like the maintenance plans and stuff like that. Cars that were dispatched to me to write up repair orders on, whether it's PDIs, used cars, stuff like that. Questionnaires, these are really useful. I'll go over those real quick just now. Customer car parts and repairs, customer recalls, I think those are my list, and possible money jobs, possible cars that I can make money on. I'm not sure exactly. So something that I really like is the noise questionnaires. I ask you a bunch of different questions and what kind of noise it makes and what do you think the noise sounds like. It's really useful. I keep a set of printed copies just in case for whatever reason the interactive network that has trouble loading up. It has a bunch of different questionnaires: automatic transmission, fuel and emissions, and water leaks. It has a bunch of different resources Acura has for consultants and stuff like that. I can't speak for other brands, but Acura and Honda, they really did a good job with providing resources for their customers. And try to use your resources as best as possible is what I would suggest. So something that I want to go over is that I was sent for training, advisor training, to a place not far from me back in June. It's basically learning about different behavioral styles, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier. There's different personalities that everybody has, and I kind of got this, which is like that, and I style, S style. It's a really cool resource that they taught us about in the class, and they had us go over different scenarios, different training and stuff like that. And a little bit of training, try to get as much training as possible, try to get as much knowledge as possible. So what has it been like? It's been stressful quite a bit. Some days are very stressful, some days aren't that bad. Um, you kind of have to take it one day at a time. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Try to keep on top of your repair orders. Try to keep your customers updated. You don't have try not to have stacks of repair orders and keys on your desk. Try not to be that guy. Try to keep on top of your work. Keep all your repair orders closed if they need to close them. Keep them open if they have to stay open. Update your customers. It's very important. At least every 1 to 2 days, if the car is going to be here for a while. Remember that you have to always try to cover your ass. For the walk around videos, take lots of pictures of the walk around, any dents or stuff like that. Most dealerships, they do that. They take pictures of a walk around before the car goes in the shop. Make sure you take good pictures. Take videos if you need to. It's very important to do all of that stuff, because you never know. There's going to be a lot of customers that claim that body damage was there and it wasn't there before, or they just simply haven't noticed it before, but they're going to think that we did it. So you have to cover your ass, take lots of pictures. It's very important. If someone wants to be an advisor, what would you suggest? I would suggest attending as much automotive training as much as possible, even if it means joining an automotive, like to be a mechanic. Even if that's not your goal, learn as much as you can about cars. It's ridiculous to be just a salesman and then not have any idea about how cars work and just be a salesman. You have to understand cars and how they run and stuff like that. Understand the bare basics, especially if you know nothing about cars. I didn't know anything about cars, and the only little bit is what I told you in the beginning. Is that I knew how to change a tire, maybe a little bit. I didn't really do it either. It was my dad. I kind of watched him, and I kind of developed an understanding there. But other than that, I didn't really know how to change oil and stuff like that until I joined the PAC program. You have to develop an understanding. It's very, very important. Learn as much as possible. It's very, very important to do that. Don't just... Obviously, you have to develop skills to be a good salesman, develop a good client base. All of that is very important, but it all starts with understanding how to work on cars, understanding how cars work and stuff like that. And then if you choose to work at a dealership with a particular brand, educate yourself as much as possible about that brand. Any little bit of training your boss offers you, read it, understand it, your stuff like that. Very, very important stuff. Develop an understanding as best as possible, because it really doesn't make sense to me to just work a job as a service advisor and then only understand how to sell. But you have to and then when you're selling to a customer, you have to go over the inspection report with them. Prioritize the safety items. Always do that. If there's no safety items, then if it's just regular maintenance, then go on their history. Make sure they haven't done it recently. If they really need like filters, sometimes people live in dusty areas and the filters get dirty very fast, or there's smokers. Those cabin filters are going to get dirty very, very fast. They're going to need cabin filters a lot more often. So and if they do the MPI, look at the pictures. Look at, educate yourself as much as possible about the recommendations. So when the customer asks you questions about them, you're able to give them a little information and you don't look unsure of yourself. As the moment you look unsure, you kind of lose their trust in you, your level of reliability, stuff like that. Be sure of yourself. Understand why these items are being recommended, what's important to be done now, what's not important, what can wait, yellow, green, red, stuff like that. Something is very important as well is be considerate of your fellow service advisors. If they've recommended stuff before and they're here at work, try to give it back to them. Be considerate. Do not steal any customers from other advisors, especially if they've been dealing with them for a very long time. Try to be because remember, these are things that you wouldn't want people to be doing to you. You know what I'm saying? So try to treat everybody, especially your fellow advisors, because you guys, all of you, I don't know, depending on the size of your dealership, there could be several of you guys. So try to be, as considerate as possible to them. Maybe help them out if they're swamped with writing up cars. Any of those little things could help them help them, you know. A little bit goes a long way. If you help them, there's a good chance they'll help you. But don't do things with that intention, of course. Do that with the intention of just being helpful. But understand when you're being used and when you're being abused, you know. If they're always having you do their work for them, then that's a different story. But once in a while, if you help them out, writing up a car, closing a ticket, that's fine. I see no problem with that, you know. It's just you have to understand your boundaries. Don't let them cross any lines. For me, I don't allow disrespect to my religion. You can make fun of my race, make fun of the way I look or whatever. I don't really care about that. Make fun about my religion or my family, that's a problem, you know. Understanding that, and even making fun of your appearance and stuff like that, if it's too excessive, or even your culture, that if it goes to if you feel that it's becoming too excessive, speak to them about it. If it doesn't stop, speak to your manager. You know, sometimes stuff like that can happen. Don't allow yourself to get disrespected to the point that you're uncomfortable with it, that you're super uncomfortable, that's unbearable. I always try to be considerate of others in the service drive, because sometimes there's going to be cars that, like, let's say one car is here, that's yours, the car behind it is someone else, the car behind that one is yours, or another one, you know, and your car is at the front, but you haven't moved your car, or you haven't had a porter move it as yet. If the porter hasn't moved it, you move it, you know. Be considerate of other people. Remember, the cars behind you, they belong to other advisors. So those advisors got to get their cars moved out as well and parked in the back lot or wherever, however your dealership is situated. You know, it's very important to, again, be considerate of other people, you know, especially your fellow service advisors. You know, some dealerships have a lot of advisors, some dealerships have only 3, like the dealership I'm at, you know. It's very important, very, very important. One tip to retain customers that are like brand new customers and don't really have advisors, to be able to kind of retain them on a professional standpoint, would be to give them your business card, or if you don't have one yet, if you're a new advisor, try to make a Google Voice number, which is completely for free. You don't have to pay for that. Give them your number. Give them that number. You know, giving them your personal number, that's a bit risky, but if you want to, you can do that as well. To you. I'd prefer to give them the Google Voice number, because it's not your actual number, but it's not your personal number, it's your work number, specifically for work. You can even get an old phone and have it only with Wi-Fi, and you don't have to pay for data on that phone, and talk to your customers that way. I've seen another advisor do that. Whichever works for you. I prefer to just do it both on the same phone, but with a different phone number, obviously, because the faster you get them away from the main line, the easier it is to retain that customer, because then they have a direct line to an advisor. If they have questions, they can text that person if they're more of a texting person, you know, because a lot of people prefer to text and call, you know, it all depends, and it's a way for you to be able to keep that customer, you know. It's just a little tip. So sometimes what some salesmen would do, and this makes me very upset, but not all salesmen are like this, by the way, so don't generalize salesmen. Some salesmen are very kind people, very considerate, but some salesmen, when their customers buy brand new cars, and their cars suddenly have an issue of some sort, then they automatically tell them, and the thing is, these issues will require more time with the car, maybe a loaner car, maybe the customer drop off the car if we don't have loaners available, you know, but it's not something that can be done 1, 2, 3. And sometimes salesmen give the customers false expectations, and then the customers get upset with us because we look like the bad guy, because that salesman told them one thing, but it's actually something else. You know, so it's very important to try to understand how to deal with those situations, because they will happen from time to time. It's not something that happens often, but it's something that does happen, and you just have to keep that in mind. Sometimes managers from other departments will try to play boss on you. If it becomes disrespectful, speak to your manager. So far, thank God, I've never had to deal with that, but it can happen. You know, just something to keep in mind. You know, but in general, try to maintain a good relationship with everybody. That's what I try to do. As far as I know, I have really no enemies, maybe a few that don't like me for whatever reason. Again, like I said at the beginning, a little earlier, you're not going to be able to mesh with everybody. You're not. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to get along with everybody. So it, something very important to remember. Maintain a good relationship with everybody. When recommending stuff to customers, try to prioritize safety. So a neat little trick there, this is called a little heater. Like when it gets cold in your office and stuff like that, if it gets cold outside, it's good to have that. If you're feeling a little feverish and you're feeling a little chills, it's good, a little tool to have. Also, when for the summer months, when it gets pretty cold, it's good to have that, because you're in and out in your office, so the AC is not really doing its thing because the doors keep opening. So it's good to have those. There's little things, little $30 investments off Amazon. It's a pretty good investment in my opinion. It's paid for itself more than once. So this is a neat little trick that I wanted to show you as well. This is called an AC gauge. You can there's different ones on Amazon. This one I actually have. I don't like it that well because for whatever reason it's always a little bit off. But basically like a little temperature gauge. Sometimes when customers say, "Oh, the car is now cooling," something that you have to remember is that the hotter it is outside, the longer it's going to take to cool and stuff like that. Sometimes this can help. You put on the lowest speed and you turn it to the second fan speed, I believe. And that's how it is for Acura. I can't speak for other brands again. But yeah, this is a pretty good tool. Another one would be a little pencil styled flashlight. But your phone light should be able to work as well. I mean, my office is a little bit messy right now, but it's good to maintain a nice clean office. Typically your porter should be able to take care of that. Or if he delays, then you could just try to take care of it yourselves. Get the broom, keep it nice and clean. Your chairs nice and clean as well. So up there is additional tags for cars, towels to clean miscellaneous stuff off cars. This is for different stuff like extended warranty, what they ask for, tire coverage, over-the-counter parts warranty, issuing customer refunds, stuff like that, different company numbers. So we've come to the end of the video. I think I've pretty much went over everything that I could remember anyways. If there's anything else, I'll probably put in the description, but of course the Service Driver Evolution, I'll put a link to his channel. He's a really good channel. Learned quite a bit from him. Go ahead and check him out. Yes, there are some days that I just want to leave and I don't want to deal with it anymore. It can be very stressful at times. Don't let it get to you. Don't be afraid to take a step back, and by step back I mean take your lunch break and just go off campus. Try not to have your lunch break on campus, and not by campus, but in the dealership. Go somewhere, even if it's a park. I don't know if you live far from work or close to work. If you live far from work, then just go to a nearby park. There should be a park somewhere nearby. Should be. If not, then to a cafe. Wherever you find peace and quiet, and just sit down, contemplate your thoughts, go over what's going on in the day, what needs to be done to perfect it. Not every day is going to be good, not every day is going to be bad. The good days make up for the bad days. Always remember that there's going to be lots and lots of slow days that you're not making anything, and there's going to be days when you just can't get out, you can't sit down. There's going to be days when you just can't get to your lunch. There's going to be days like that. There's going to be days when you're just on your phone all the time. Those days, try to have stuff in your office that can occupy you when it's slow. And by slow I mean, like, I don't know, books to read, things that can benefit you. Maybe books of leisure. Have some books of leisure, have some books of education in your office. All depends on how your dealership is situated. Some dealerships don't have individual offices. Alhamdulillah, my office, yes, we have individual offices. It gives you a lot of privacy. Of course, it's going to be people coming in your office whenever they need you, whether it's a porter delivering a key, fellow service advisor, receptionist, your manager, salesman, customer, whoever it may be, a technician. But most of the time you're going to be in your office by yourself. When it's slow, I personally don't see anything wrong with going to speak with your coworkers, have some type of conversation with them that could be of benefit. It's things like that, they all help. But I think I'm gonna come to a close now. Like I said, I think I went over pretty much everything. try to personalize your office. Try not to keep it so harsh and cold. Like if you have an office, again, I mean, I don't know how, and not every dealership is like that, but try to personalize your office. Try to put things in your office. Like I have the Guyana map and stuff like that, and a little old Chevy that I thought was cool, the body style. Have stuff like that that are considered what I like to call conversation starters. They'll look at the map and ask, "Oh, where you're from?" Because most people think I'm automatically Indian, but I mean, which is half true. I mean, my ancestors are Indian, but my parents are from Guyana. So it's stuff like that. Like little stuff like that can go a long way. Conversation starters, stuff like that. Most people don't even know where Guyana is until I tell them, "Oh, it's next to Venezuela, it's next to Brazil." Then they say, "Oh, it's there." Some people already know about Guyana. Sometimes you get customers that are from your country. Good customers, bad customers. You have to treat them at a certain level until you develop an understanding of what their personality is, how they prefer to be treated, stuff like that. But I'm gonna come to a close now. If there's anything else that I remember after I post this video, I'll put in the description. But good luck on your service advisor journey. Don't be afraid to venture into this journey, but have the foundation, like I said. Learn about cars as much as possible. Learn how to, if you're not a people person, this is a very much a people job. If you don't like dealing with people, this is not the job for you. But I didn't like really dealing with people at first either, but I learned how to develop an understanding and a liking for it. It's really educational, because either way you're gonna have to deal with people in this world when you go to the store, when you go to the doctor, wherever, when you go to school. So this is a good training ground for that if you're not a good people person. But if you're already a good people person, you've already got half the battle packed. But the other part is understanding how to learn how to sell, how to prioritize what items need to be done first, how to deal with your coworkers and stuff like that. But most importantly, like I said, the foundation should be learning about cars. Learning, and then eventually the issue, like I said, if you choose to do with a dealership, learn about the product as much as possible. Most likely they'll have training resources. Exploit that to the best of your ability. Learn as much as possible. Any kind of training becomes available to go to. Take it, go and learn as much as possible. Take notes, very important. Try to absorb as much as possible. Go over it. Remember, it's just like being in school again. Take lots of notes. You're not going to remember everything right off the bat. You're going to make lots and lots of mistakes. Just try not, there's sometimes maybe you'll make expensive mistakes. Who knows? It all depends. But you're going to make mistakes. Don't expect to be perfect. No one is perfect. But you're going to make mistakes. But the most important thing is you learn from it, just like in life. But I wish you all the best if you choose to be a service advisor. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to drop it down in the comment section. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.